Lifting slings are used to a great extent in lifting operations, and since lifting slings are less robust than chain or wire, we have to be extra careful about how we use them. They are more prone to damage, chafing, etc. If the label on the sling is illegible, the sling has to be scrapped and you can't use it anymore. Lifting slings typically have a safety factor of 7, and the color of the label indicates the material that the sling is made out of. If it's blue, it's a polyester sling. If it's brown, it's a polypropylene sling. If it's red, it's Kevlar or Spectra. And if it's green, it's nylon. And the different materials have different properties. Lifting slings in general cannot withstand high temperatures, and some types cannot withstand UV radiations and can only be used indoors. The label on the lifting slings should show the SWL or the WLL, the length of the sling, the material, who's produced it, the serial number, so that you can find the corresponding certificate for the sling, which standard it's produced according to, and a CE label. All slings should be stored in a suitable place, and they should be inspected by the lift crane operator every single time that they are used. And if they fail any of the points below that we're going to look at, they should be taken out of use and probably scrapped. Although in some cases it is possible to repair a sling. First out, is the label, the marking, visible and intact? Are there any knots in the sling, which is a big no-no and should not occur? Have they been exposed to heat damage? This could be welding or grinding sparks. You should be aware that even a very small external hole in the sling can cause serious internal damage and cause major damage to the sling. Is there any chemical or mechanical damage or chafing to the sling? Any cuts in the edges? Or are there any seams that are beginning to unravel? In any of these cases, the sling should be taken out of service. Chain. When we're using chain for lifting operations, it's only permitted to use short link chain. And short link chain means chain that where the internal length is only maximum 3 times greater than the metal diameter here, as indicated in the figure. So this is short link chain. That's the only chain that's allowed to be used for lifting operations. Chain has a safety factor of 4 or 4.5. Chain should be marked every single meter. In addition, it should lifting slings made out of chain should be labeled with a tag or a direct marking on the master ring. Here we have a chain lifting up gear. We have the master ring, we have a label, and we have 2 legs on the actual chain. The tag should show the working angles, the number of legs, the dimensions, and the SWL of the chain. And pretty much the same goes for the master ring, which in addition should have certificate number and a CE marking. The maximum permitted metal wear for chain is 10%. So up to 10% of the metal can be wasted or worn away before you have to discard it. But really any visible wear and the chain should be discarded. Other loose lifting equipment, we have wire and steel ropes. Then there's many different types of wires and designations. They mostly have a safety factor of 5, and the markings on the ferrules should include the SWL, WLL. And ferrules are these what in a rope would be the splice. That's called ferrules. The maximum permissible metal wear on ferrules and the maximum number of broken strands in the wire is up to 5%. But in any case, any visible broken strands and the wire should be discarded. When it comes to eye bolts, nuts, hooks, shackles, or connectors of different kind, we should check them for deformation, visible damage, and maximum metal wear 10%, and they should all be labeled with SWL or WLL. Chain pulleys, snatch blocks, and all the other gear, all lifting equipment shall be approved, labeled, certified, and exposed to routine checks and every time they're used, and yearly inspections at the very least. If you're going to lift a known weight, you must use one or more slings that in total have a greater SWL than the weight of whatever is being lifted. So in the figure here we see a weight, we know that it weighs in at 3.9 tons. This means that you need to have a SWL when you're lifting with a single part like here of at least 4 tons. But very often you're using several slings in a spreader arrangement, several legs using in the lift. Then the total SWL must be increased because the slings are not vertical. The geometry of the slings causes the load on the slings to be increased. To find the necessary sling dimension, you need to use lifting tables, and the use of lifting tables is something that you learn about on a crane course. So we want to be able to do safe lifts and we want to make sure that we use lifting slings, wire shackles that have the sufficient capacity. For any other lift than a simple vertical sling or chain, we need to use a lifting table to find the correct dimensions and the necessary SWL. Lifting table for chain gear is an example we see here. There are different lifting tables depending on the type of equipment that is being used. Is it chain? Is it wire? Is it slings? In this case, an SWL of 4 tons for the single part, but because the spreader has a working angle that's quite big, you actually need SWL of 3 tons for both these parts in order to perform this lift in a safe way. So, lifting tables, not something we look into now, but it is something that's very important when you are the one responsible for lifting operations.